Hi everyone. Okay, I'm gonna try to make this quick. It's not gonna be quick though, because I found some serious stupid. It's actually, I found it like, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago probably, but I finally have the time to sit down and make a video, and well, it's gonna be a quick one in the sense that it's not gonna be a scripted one, but it's probably gonna take a while to make it anyway. Well, you can check how long it is, so you. But I found this thing on a blog called humansarefree.com, or a blog site anyway. And I haven't checked out the site, but I just found I was linked to this. I can't remember. It's probably Cal, but. It's called 9 Scientific Facts That Prove the Theory of Evolution is False. And here's the thing, this is not a standard creationist site. I think it's more of a conspiratard site, and yeah, if you thought creationists didn't get evolution, just hang on. Let's get to work. The theory of evolution is not a scientific law or a law of biology. Well, they got that right. It's a theory. A scientific law must be 100% correct. Well, no. A scientific law is simply a general statement, which is true given the circumstances specified. Failure to meet only one challenge proves that the law is wrong. No, it proves that the law is wrong under the circumstances at hand. You need to know what a law is in order to say something like that. This article will prove that the theory of evolution fails many challenges. I don't know of one. Not simply one. Well, I don't know of one. I don't know of any. The theory of evolution will never become a law of science because it's wrought with errors. No, it won't become a law of science because it's a theory. Why would it be degraded into a general statement that is only true under specific circumstances? It is an entire framework, an explanatory model. It's a theory. Theories are greater than laws. This is why it's still called a theory instead of a law. You're an idiot. It's 12 pages, by the way. I'm on the, what, 4th or 5th sentence? And yes, we're gonna go through it all. The process of natural selection is not an evolutionary process. No. Who says it is? It's part of evolution, but it isn't evolution. The DNA in plants and animals allows selective breeding. Wow, the DNA in plants and animals allows selective breeding. They got it right. I got it wrong. To achieve the desired result. Dogs are... I'm sorry, I still have a cough. I've had a cold for several weeks, just won't give up. The DNA in dogs has many recessive traits, yeah, blah 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 blah, the desired trait can be yeah, okay. Different dogs are all the same kind, yeah. Many different types of dogs, yeah, not kinds, types, can be developed in this way, but they can never develop a cat by selectively breeding dogs. Correct, because evolution would be completely blown out of the water if you did that. You see, dogs and cats have a common ancestor. Cats did not evolve from dogs. Natural selection can never extend outside of the DNA limit. No, of course it can't. DNA cannot be changed into a new species by natural selection. No, DNA is never changed into a new species. DNA is not a type of animal. Idiot. And also, if you mean that natural selection can never produce a new species, you're absolutely right. natural selection doesn't produce anything. It acts upon what is produced. You know, genetic drift, mutations, those combined with natural selection produce new species. New variations of the species are possible, but a new species has never been developed by science. No, actually, I'm pretty sure it has. I don't know what you mean by produced by science, but we have several examples of speciation occurring. I know they've been. I know it's been observed in labs under laboratory conditions. I don't know if you can say they've been produced by science. I'm not familiar enough with the experiments involved. So really, who cares? It's been observed. That's what matters. In fact, most modern laboratories are unable to produce a left-hand protein as found in humans and animals. I'm fairly certain that's false. Kitsch, can you fill people in on this? No, I'm not going to do the idiot clip. But you like this whole homochirality shit, don't you? But still, a protein is not a species of animal, so it's irrelevant. And no one is suggesting that new species are produced from scratch. You take one type of animal and breed it until it can no longer breed with until the result can no longer breed with the original population. That's when speciation has occurred. It has nothing to do with producing new proteins in you know, petri dishes or test tubes or whatever. Evolutionists fail. Now they got it wrong. Although I don't know what an evolutionist is, by the way. Do you mean people who accept evolution, or do you mean people who work with the theory of evolution? You need to define that term. Fail to admit that no species has ever been proven to have evolved in any way, except for all the ones that exist. Well, all the ones that we have observed evolved. Evolution is simply a pie-in-the-sky conjecture without scientific proof. There is no such thing as scientific proof. It's called scientific evidence. And there's shitloads of it. If natural selection... Now we're going to get funny. If natural selection were true, Eskimos would have fur to keep them warm. Okay, first of all, Eskimos, like all humans, have fur. Humans just have very little fur. Okay? Humans have follicles all over their bodies. Well, except there are certain areas that don't. But, you know, like our eyeballs, for example. Our fingernails don't grow hair. But, yeah. They are just as hairless as anyone else. Well, humans are not hairless. If natural selection were true, humans in the tropics would have a silver reflective skin to help keep them cool, but they don't. They have black skin, just the opposite of what the theory of natural selection would predict. Yes, because having black skin which radiates heat faster would be a bad thing if you're a warm-blooded animal living in a warm climate, so you want to get rid of heat. Yeah, that would be a bad thing, right? Wait. If natural selection were true, humans at northern latitudes would have black skin, but they have white skin instead. Except the Eskimos, who have skin that is halfway between white and black. Are you going to tell me Jews are from space soon? Many evolutionists argue that melanin is a natural sunscreen that evolved in a greater amount to protect dark-skinned people who live near the equator. Well, I don't know if it evolved. It didn't evolve in greater amount. It's that it's not needed when you go away from the tropics, so losing it is not a disadvantage. And you do realize that humans started out in Africa. We were all black from the beginning. Many evolutionists argue that melanin, yeah, we covered that. Black skin absorbs the heat from the sun's rays more than white skin. Yes, and it radiates heat faster. And what's relevant is that our internal, our bodies keep an internal temperature, and you know the processes that go on inside us produce heat. We need to get rid of heat when it's warm outside. It becomes more important to get rid of heat than to avoid absorbing heat. So actually, black skin is an advantage in the tropics. Humans show no sign of natural selection based on the environment. Well, we haven't been around all that long, so the theory of natural selection is wrong because it cannot create something in the DNA that wasn't there in the beginning. Well, correct, but that doesn't mean that the theory is wrong because it's not. No one says that natural selection can produce something that wasn't there in the beginning. It's not natural selection that produces new stuff. Natural selection acts on what is produced. Moron. Wow, that was page 1. And we haven't started with the 9 facts that prove evolution is impossible yet. Animals like bears, tigers, lions, and zebras living near the equator have heavy fur. No, they don't. While humans living north of the Arctic Circle have bare skin. No, they don't. But you also notice that humans tend to dress warm, right? That's why we can survive in that climate. Eskimos don't usually run around naked. And I believe they prefer to be called Inuits, by the way. A leopard from the jungle near the equator has fur like the snow leopard of the Himalayas. No. And I'm pretty sure leopards don't live in the jungle. I believe they live on the savannah. But if you compare the fur of a leopard on the savannah in Africa with the leopard of with the fur of a snow leopard, did I say if you compare the fur of a leopard on the savannah with the fur of a leopard in the Himalayas, you'll notice a huge difference. So, you're an idiot. And by the way, do snow leopards live in the Himalayas? I think they do. Ah. The snow leopard grows thicker hair. Well, so now you admit it. But the jungle leopard would also if it moved to a cold climate. No. No, actually it wouldn't. Not right away. It would take many generations, assuming it survived. And you'd have to have an entire population of them. Horses and dogs grow a heavy winter coat in colder climates. Yeah, because they have evolved to do that. Natural selection isn't working, as falsely claimed by Charles Darwin. You have not given a single indication that it isn't working. The cheetah in Africa is an example of an animal in the cat family. Cat isn't a family, is it? With a very limited variety in the DNA. Each cheetah looks like an identical twin. No. The cheetah DNA is also identical. Oh. The cheetah DNA is so identical that the skin from one cheetah can be grafted onto another cheetah without rejection by the body. Well, so that's not identical. It's it's compatible. You know, you can take blood from one human and put it into another human, and it doesn't kill them as long as it's the same blood type, and same thing. But yes, the cheetahs in Africa were almost eradicated. There was a population bottleneck. There's a lot of inbreeding there, you know. So yeah, they are very similar, and that's a bad thing. But no, they are not identical twins, and I don't see how this is even relevant. Here we go. Evolution is scientifically impossible. Evolution is a theory developed 140 years ago by Charles Darwin. Well, actually it's been around longer than that. He's the one who explained how it works. Before science had the evidence available to prove the theory false. Well, it still doesn't. This famous book on the origin of species by means of natural selection has a title that is now known to be scientifically false. Well, it's just a title, you moron. New species cannot evolve by natural selection. No, not by natural selection alone. Modern scientific discoveries are proving evolution to be impossible. Can you name one? I'm gonna skip ahead a bit. Life did not start with a bolt of lightning striking a pond of water, as claimed by mainstream scientists. That is not how mainstream scientists claim it started. Mainstream scientists say, we don't know how life started, but this is not part of the theory of evolution. It's abiogenesis. Evolution only starts working after life has begun. Kids are taught that life can evolve given enough time. Well, you need life in order for it to evolve, and yes, then it can. This is a false statement without any scientific support. No, that was a false statement without any scientific support. They are taught that if given enough time, a monkey with a typewriter could punch keys at random and eventually type President Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. This is nonsense. I agree it's nonsense, but no one is saying that. You do realize that you're now ignoring the role that natural selection plays. It acts on what is there. You keep what works, you discard what doesn't. It's like, you know, if you're gonna pick numbers at random and get, like, the combination to a safe, you keep the hits and you only change the misses. So it's not like you start from scratch every time. So it's a false analogy that you just, you know, try things at random until you get something that miraculously works. Perfectly, that is. So that's bullshit. The indoctrination system called education. Dun dun dun. The education system teaches children not to think. Actually, it teaches children to think. Any student who uses logic and solid scientific evidence to question the theory of evolution is ridiculed and insulted into submission. No, he is simply told that he's wrong, because he is. The students who submit become non-thinking robots. Actually, if they're non-thinking robots, they're going to be creationists, because they will reject reality. Well, not necessarily creationists, but they will accept shit like this, you know, shit that has no basis in anything. Science education works by actually challenging people to think and come to conclusions, and then you analyze how they came to that conclusion and so on. And maybe you should also consider that you need to look at higher education. It's kind of hard to test everything yourself in high school, for example, and certainly in elementary school, but if you look at college education, there's a reason why students there become so convinced by this stuff. It's because they actually get taught how it actually works. They get to challenge it, they get to think about it themselves, and they get to do experiments themselves that actually have to be analyzed properly. They need sources for all their claims and so on. And it's completely different to just sitting there in Sunday school getting fed bullshit. And you're saying that it's people who accept evolution because of the overwhelming evidence that aren't thinking? They are the ones who are thinking. A 4th grade elementary school class was observed at the park playing a 3-legged race game where adjacent legs of 2 kids were placed into a bag. Yeah, the kids must cooperate with each step in order to run. The kids thought it was great fun. The teacher told them it was being trained to cooperate. Yeah. Actually, it was brainwashing kids into conforming to a system in which they are not allowed to have individual thoughts or opinions. No. It's just that we need to be able to cooperate in society, so being trained to cooperate is actually useful. They must become a team player and submit to peer pressure. Not peer pressure, but being a team player means that you can function as part of a group. That is a good thing. Communist countries have used the same brainwashing thing. I love this. Whatever the children think is right for them is okay. That is, of course, until they question evolution. What? No. Then they're told that they are wrong. Yes. But whatever they think is right for them is not okay. If they're wrong, and they must be told that they're wrong, because otherwise they're still going to be wrong. This brainwashing results in children who are unable to think logically, scientifically, and accurately. No, teaching them to think does not brainwash them into not thinking. Scientific fact number 1. Oh, we're finally going to get started. Birds prove natural selection is naturally wrong. The concept of natural selection is based on the suggestion that those members of a species that are a little stronger, a little larger, or run a little faster will live longer to procreate offspring with these superior adaptations. Well, no. It's not that you have to be a little stronger, or a little larger, or a little faster. It's that you need to be a little better at surviving in your environment. That doesn't have to mean being bigger and stronger. It can actually mean being smaller and therefore require less food. That can be a good thing. It depends on the circumstances. Darwin's theory says that millions of generations later, the changes will result in a new species, not necessarily millions of generations. These adaptations are called links or intermediates, but no. The adaptations are not. The adaptations are simply adaptations. Do you know what you're talking about? The idea of natural selection sounds great when considering deer. The deer that can sense danger the quickest and run the fastest are able to escape the predator on a more consistent basis. Exactly. However, other examples on the evolutionary tree have many flaws. Oh, I'm sure you're going to give examples. This is going to be fun. One of the best examples of evolution nonsense is the thought that a wingless bird began to evolve a wing. Why this would occur is not answered by evolutionists. If by evolutionists you mean people who study this, then yes, it has been explained. It's that they started growing feathers on their arms. You know, the ancestors of birds were theropod dinosaurs, velociraptors, for example, and they would grow feathers. Yeah, velociraptors probably did have feathers. I don't know if this is known, but it's more and more people are accepting this. And the dinosaurs that birds evolved from already had feathers. That's the point. And they would grow longer feathers on their arms, probably with this gave them an advantage as the climate was getting colder, because feathers are really good at keeping heat in, but it would also be useful when roosting eggs to keep the eggs warm. And yeah, then it also turned out to give the advantage that they could jump further by extending their arms. Does this sound familiar? Because it's not like it's new, it's not like I'm sitting here making shit up. This is something that is, I mean, Google it. The wing stub did not make the bird more adaptable to his environment. The first wing stubs would be much too small for the bird to fly. Wing stubs! Wing stubs! Hang on. Wingless bird. Are you seriously suggesting that they were just walking around with 2 limbs and that's it, and then they just started growing these little things, and gradually they... Theropods had arms! Wow. And they weren't used for flying. Why would a bird evolve wing stubs that are useless? They weren't useless! And they weren't stubs! They were arms! And they were useful! They would use the arms to grab hold of prey. And guess what? They had those limbs before they started walking on 2 legs. Before then, they were walking on 4 legs. Holy shit. A bird with a half-size wing is placed at a disadvantage in its environment. No, it's not. If you can jump further by extending these proto-wings that were still also functioning as arms, that could actually give you an advantage. And also the feathers served to keep heat in. Why would a bird continue for millions of generations to improve a wing stub that is useless? It's not useless! The theory of evolution is based on that. Repeat, repeat, repeat. This is the opposite of natural selection. No, it's not! It gives you an advantage. That's a good thing. According to natural selection, the members of the bird species with the smallest useless wing would be the most adaptable and the most likely to survive. Yeah, because if your arms are so small that they are completely useless, you can't grab hold of prey. Wait, how is that an advantage? According to the theory of natural selection, birds could never be able to evolve to fly. No, actually, you're wrong. We are then led to believe that some birds got tired of carrying around worthless half-sized wings, so they grew fingers on them. They already had them! They were arms! To help them climb trees, the wings became arms. They were arms! Evolutionists say birds grew hollow bones for less weight in order to fly. No! When they started flying, or rather started gliding, jumping further, all of a sudden, having hollow bones gave you an advantage. Being light gave you an advantage. How would a bird pass this long-term plan to the millions of generations? It's not a plan. Birds aren't the only species that proves the theory of natural selection to be wrong. The problem can be found in all species in one way or another. Take fish, for example. Fish is not a species. We're told by the evolutionists that a fish wiggled out of the sea onto dry land and became a land creature. No. So let's examine this idea. Okay, a fish wiggles out of the sea and onto land and can't breathe air. This could happen. Fish do stupid things at times. Now, that was supposed to be funny, but you're absolutely right. But how is it a stupid thing to come onto land, notice, hey, there's food here, let's see if we can eat this, or rip some off and you know, rip some plant off, you know, and then wiggle back into the sea and eat it there. I don't know, maybe this food was really good for them, maybe it tasted good. I don't know, but the point is, they didn't wiggle onto land and flap around there without being able to breathe for millions of generations. They would have died if they did that. There wouldn't have been millions of generations. But the point is, gradually, they evolved the ability to breathe air and water. The first land animals were amphibians. Evolution is scientific fact number 2. Species without a link prove evolution theory is wrong. There are no transitional fossils. The evolutionists will claim that the presence of many individual species proves evolution. No. Evolutionists line up pictures of similar-looking species and claim that one evolved from another. No, that's not quite how it works, and it's not just that they look similar. The human family tree is an example. You see, it's not that they look similar, so therefore we assume that one evolved from another. It's that they look like what we would expect something to have evolved from, and it existed at an earlier point in time. Evolutionists line up the most promising choices to present a gradual progression from monkey to modern man. They simply fill in the big gaps with make-believe creatures. Never once that I know of. This process can be done with humans only because there are many extinct monkey and apes. What? They never do this with giraffes, elephants, or the platypus. Maybe because you haven't looked. The pictures are simply a grouping of individual species that does not prove evolution. You're absolutely correct. A picture does not prove anything. Who says it does? It's not the picture that is the evidence. It is the fossils. Okay? You get it? No, of course not. A newly discovered extinct species does not prove a missing link has been found. If it is what we expect between this and this, then it is evidence confirming the hypothesis that this evolved into this. Learn to science. Charles Darwin admitted that the fossils of the transitional links between species would have to be found in order to prove his theory of evolution. Well, yeah. These transitional links have never been found. They hadn't been found in Darwin's times. We have thousands upon thousands of them today. You just don't care. We only find individual species. Yes, because every transitional fossil is an individual species. What the hell would you expect? A crocoduck? Evolutionists try to form these individual species into a link according to similar major features such as wings or 4 legs, but this simply proves the theory of evolution to be a fraud. How so? Darwin was hoping that fossils would prove his theory correct. What? The lack of transitional links has proven his theory to be wrong, but there is no lack of transitional links. The presence of individual species, what would you expect? A transitional link is an individual species. Even a crocoduck would be an entire crocoduck, a complete crocoduck, the individual species of crocoduck. So even that wouldn't convince a creationist, even if it is absolutely ridiculous. Because, hey, there's no transition between the crocoduck and whatever it came from. That's what they would say. So even if there were such a thing as a crocoduck, which there isn't, because no one is suggesting that ducks evolved into crocodiles or the other way around, that still wouldn't be sufficient to convince anyone that actually, you know, doesn't accept this, because they don't accept it on the grounds that they have no clue what it is, and they need to reject it without understanding it, because their religion tells them they're not allowed to understand it. The cheetah above proves evolution does not exist. All species are locked solidly with their DNA code. No. The cheetah is an example of, well, evolution basically not working very well in that particular example. You know, sometimes it does lead to dead ends. And the cheetah is, you know, because it's been through a population bottleneck, it's, you know, this is what we would expect. If you have a very small population, you would expect all members of that population to interbreed, and they would end up with we would end up with a population that has very similar DNA, lots of birth defects in it as well. So it's exactly as expected by evolution. And no, nothing is solidly locked within their DNA code, because the DNA code changes over time. Moron. Evolutionists are going ape over ape girl. Is this going to be about Lucy? Ah, yes. Lucy was a monkey, not an early humanoid. No, Lucy was not a monkey. Lucy did not have a tail. Maybe you should actually learn what a monkey is before you call something a monkey. The number of bones of the ape girl skeleton are unique because Lucy only had a few head fragments. What? What? Oh. We found more specimens of Australopithecus afarensis than just Lucy. You do know that, right? Maybe you should look things up before you dismiss this whole thing. Evolution calls the animal a transitional species and a human ancestor, even though it has a head exactly like a modern-day ape. No, it doesn't. The jaw is thrust forward and the forehead pushed backward and slanted. Yeah, so it also has teeth. So does that prove it's the same as a modern-day tiger? Moron. So it looks like an ape, it has the head of an ape, it has the arms of an ape, it has the shoulder blades of an ape. It's obviously an ape. Yeah? Not a human. Where did that come from? We have, let's see, the arm, we have the heads of apes. We have the arms of apes. We have the shoulder blades of apes. We are obviously apes. Human is a type of ape, you moron. Nebraska man, that was a hoax if I'm not mistaken. The scientists had sculpted an entire ape-like skeleton from information they found in one tooth. Yeah, that was a hoax. it wasn't the scientists, it was popular media that made the whole thing up. Living fossil fish proves evolution is wrong. The coelacanth. How does that prove evolution is wrong? Well, because it hasn't changed a hell of a lot in a very long time, right? Because evolution says that everything has to evolve at a rapid pace all the time, especially if it is well suited to its environment, right? Moron. Archaeopteryx, a significant transitional missing link. It's not missing. And yes, it is transitional. Just like everything else, but it's a very clear case of the transition between what we tend to think of as a dinosaur and modern dinosaurs, aka birds. The dinosaur creature appears to be a reptile with bird characteristics, such as wings and feathers. Exactly. Just as predicted by the theory of evolution. Are you done? Upon close examination, the feathers appeared to be identical to modern chicken feathers. I don't know if that's true, but so, let's say it is. What's your point? The Archaeopteryx fossils with feathers have now been declared forgeries by scientists. No. That is simply false. And who are they citing? Walt Brown. Creationist. What's he a doctor of? Being stupid, probably? I don't know. I noticed that there was no link to any scientific paper, it was just Walt Brown says so. The platypus has made a joke of Darwin's theory of evolution and his unproven theory of natural selection. How? I have no clue how the platypus evolved. So, how does not having an answer prove that a theory is incorrect? Also, I'm pretty sure that there are actually those who have looked into this issue. And I just haven't. Because biology, not my thing. Scientists fraudulently claim a newly discovered fish as the second... Oh, Tiktaalik. Yeah, here we go. Tiktaalik has not been shown to be a fraud, and also... But the first fossil Archaeopteryx shown above was also a fraud. No, it wasn't a fraud. Walt Brown says it's a fraud, but Walt Brown is an idiot. Tiktaalik is not a fraud. Tiktaalik is exactly what we would expect. A link between, something very, a very early amphibian. It's what we'd expect. It confirms the hypothesis that amphibians evolved from fish, and it also confirms details about how would this happen. What traits did it have? Moron. The excitement about the Tiktaalik fossil is puzzling. Modern day seals have fins and waddle around on the ground. Yes, but they are not fish evolving into amphibians. They are mammals, although technically they would still be fish in the sense that they have evolved from fish, but they are... technically all vertebrates are fish. Because once a fish, always a fish, just like once a mammal, always a mammal. We are mammals, and in the same sense, we are fish, because mammals have evolved from, or some type of reptiles that evolved from amphibians that or mammal-like reptiles. I don't know what the hell they call them, but they evolved from amphibians, and the amphibians evolved from fish. So yes, we are still fish in that sense of the word, because we're vertebrates. Modern-day catfish have fins and walk around on the ground. Yeah, so they don't. Catfish can live out of water for a long time. Yes, but catfish are around now. Tiktaalik was around at the time when this transition would have occurred. Tiktaalik does not provide any support for evolution, except that it does. And it doesn't have to, because evolution is a done deal anyway. Evolutionists are now claiming that a dolphin captured with 2 little extra fins near the tail is proof that dolphins evolved from 4-footed animals related to the dog. We already knew that, because it has the skeletal structure of a 4-limbed animal. This is utter nonsense! May I suggest that you look at the skeleton of a whale or a dolphin, a cetacean? Do that. They have the remains of legs. Okay? Actually, the fossil record shows that everything is missing, well, except for everything that's found in it. No individual of the species existed. Not what? Did I miss a page? No? Ah. Missing inferior evolutionary branches. We've seen scientific fact number 2 above. We haven't seen any scientific fact so far. The missing intermediary individuals in the branch of the evolutionary tree present a serious problem for the theory of evolution. One superior individual of the 100,000 is missing, but now we have an even more serious defect in the theory. Where are the 99,999 inferior branches? How could they go missing? You do know that not everything that dies becomes a fossil, right? In fact, fossils are quite rare. So no, we would not expect to find everything. Most layers of the Earth's crust are completely devoid of all life. Well, yeah. Your point? But then a layer will appear that is teeming with an absolute abundance of separate species, each containing millions of individuals. Exactly. That's what we would expect, because it depends on how the layer is formed. There are different types of rock. You do know that, right? No, probably not, because you're an idiot. This hypothesis of the missing inferior evolutionary branches... Blah, 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 blah. Shut up. Scientific fact number 4. Where were scientific facts 1 to 3? You just... Single cell complexity proves evolution is wrong. No, it does not, by any means. The smallest living cell has the complexity of a Boeing 747. No, it doesn't. And also the first cells definitely didn't. The components of the smallest living cell have the obvious arrangement showing intelligent design. No, it's what we would expect from evolution. And by the way, the smallest living cell, well, the simplest living cells are basically just a molecule, a DNA molecule encased in some sort of bubble or something like that. So the theory of evolution claims that organic life was created from inorganic matter. That is impossible. All organic compounds come from inorganic matter. Do you know what the words mean? That is impossible. No, it isn't. You can create organic compounds from inorganic compounds. You can do this in a high school chemistry lab. Do you know what the words mean? Organic simply means it includes carbon, but it isn't just carbon. Okay? So, if you have, like, just make something that has carbon in it and it'll be organic. As long as it's not just carbon. There's more to it, but not much. Methane is an organic compound. The minimal cell contains more than 60,000 proteins of 100 different configurations. Really? Is that the simplest kind of cell that you could possibly make? I don't think so. Darwin's Tree of Life. The Tree of Life was not Darwin's. It was Linnaeus. He was a creationist. He figured it out. That different life forms were related. He just didn't understand how they were related. Oh, here we go. Scientific fact number 5. Human egg and sperm prove evolution is wrong. This is going to be fun. The evolutionist ignores the problem surrounding the human female egg and the male sperm in the evolutionary theory. The human female, like other mammals, has XX sex chromosomes, and the male has XY sex chromosomes. I don't know if this is true for all mammals. I don't care. I'll just stipulate to that. The female egg contains the X chromosome. The male sperm contains either an X chromosome or a Y chromosome. And the female eggs all develop within the ovaries while she's a baby fetus within her mother's womb. I don't know if that's true, but I'll stipulate to that. This is gonna. I just know this is gonna end up funny. I actually haven't read this. I didn't get this far. Evolutionists claim environmental factors cause small changes in the offspring in the evolutionary chain. However, the environmental experience of the female cannot change the chromosomes within her eggs and cannot have any effect on her offspring. Your point? Her body cannot go into the eggs contained within her ovaries at her birth to make an intelligent genetic change. No? Of course not. What's your point? Females cannot be part of the evolutionary theory for these reasons. Why not? The male sperm created very differently from the female egg. The sperm are created in the testes of a male on a daily basis. This short time period between the creation of the sperm and conception within the female precludes any possibility that the male can be part of the evolutionary process. How so? A harsh winter or some environmental condition does not affect the testes in any way that could alter the chromosomes in the sperm. Your point being, what is your point? Okay, here's the thing. There are these random changes going on that are not because of environmental factors. It's genetic drift. So that's one thing. But another thing that happens is that there is more information, yes, I said it, in an egg and in a sperm than in the total. You know, you have the entire mother's DNA here, you have the entire father's DNA here, they combine and you get something that contains some of the mother and some of the father. Don't just look at the chromosomes. even funny, that was just plain ridiculous. Who says that a harsh winter will change your DNA? Who the hell says that? Scientific fact number 6, DNA error checking proves evolution is wrong. No, actually it doesn't. Some mind quotes. Evolutionists believe in a mutation theory for the origin of many species. They believe that their time god makes mistake after mistake. And voila, we have a hummingbird that can fly backwards. Mutations occur and natural selection acts on those mutations. Some of them turn out to be beneficial. And your argument against this is that there are bad mutations. Therefore, all of them must be. Also, mutations are not the only kind of genetic change. Although I'm not clear on exactly what would... I don't know what the definition of a mutation is. As I understood it, a genetic change was a mutation. It's the same thing. But apparently, I mean, I've been told that this is wrong, that mutation is a type of genetic change, and I'm not clear on what the difference is between mutations and other types of genetic change, but who cares? The point is, there are beneficial mutations. Even Kent Hovind acknowledges that. He just doesn't think they're beneficial, but he acknowledges that they give you the ability to survive better. What was it? Sickle cell anemia, for example. Hey, it makes you immune to a disease that kills millions of people before they can reproduce. So it's a beneficial mutation because while it has harmful effects, it leads you to be able to procreate, whereas you otherwise would be dead. That is beneficial from the point of view of evolution. Moron. They claim that multiple mutation mistakes eventually led to a human with color vision that can focus at... Well, yes. You can put it like that. But you say mutation mistakes. Now, mistake implies that there is a plan behind it all. That there was something that went wrong. These changes are not things just going wrong. It's not mistakes. It's things changing over time. Imbecile. Scientific fact number 7. Chaos from organization proves evolution is wrong. Oh, here we go. The second law of thermodynamics proves that organization cannot flow from chaos. Wrong. The second law of thermodynamics says that the entropy of an isolated system never decreases. Complex life organisms cannot rearrange themselves into an organism of a higher form, as claimed by evolutionists. That has nothing to do with thermodynamics. This is scientifically backwards according to the second law of thermodynamics? No! Which has never been proven wrong. Well, that depends on exactly what you mean by the second law of thermodynamics. The one you're talking about has been proven wrong. It's proven wrong when you drop something and you notice that it returns to an orderly type of behavior. You'd expect things not to just fly away at random, but follow the laws of nature and just fall to the ground like gravity would have it do. That is order. Don't talk about the second law of thermodynamics when you don't even know what it says. There is no scientific fact number 8. Chromosome count proves evolution is wrong. Oh, here we go. It's the fused chromosome. There is no scientific evidence that a species can change the number of chromosomes within their DNA. Well, actually, yes, there is. The chromosome count within each species is fixed. Well, yes, it wouldn't be the same species if it changed the number of chromosomes, but species change over time. This is the reason a male from one species cannot mate successfully with a female from another. No, that is not it. You can have different species with the same number of chromosomes, and because they're different species, they're still too genetically different to be able to procreate. I'm fairly sure a chimp and a gorilla cannot interbreed, but I think they have the same number of chromosomes, if I'm not mistaken. I seem to remember hearing that. Humans have 46 chromosomes. The chromosome count is a steady factor. Yes, within humans, you're right. Because if it were to change, that would mean that we're not, well, we would still be humans, but we wouldn't be the same species of human. This determines what is called the fixity of the species, because the chromosome count doesn't vary within the species. No, you're absolutely correct. It wouldn't be the same species. And people always give birth to people. Correct. Dogs always give birth to dogs. And who says otherwise? The genes cannot produce variety within the species. The genes can produce variety within the species, but cannot result in different species. Well, no. You will never see some animal or plant or whatever, some organism, give birth to something of a different species. You're absolutely correct. But it's like a spectrum, okay? If you go from yellow to red through a continuous spectrum, where does it stop being yellow and start being red? There is no fixed point where one species becomes another. It's this gradual change. This is the same species as this. This is the same species as this. This is the same as this. This is the same as this. But this is not the same as this. A species is not, all members of a species are not identical. Dogs cannot breed with cats. That fact stops evolution dead in its tracks. Actually, if dogs bred with cats, that would disprove evolution. Sometimes two species are close enough to crossbreed, but the offspring are usually sterile. Right. This is exactly what we would expect from evolution. Scientific fact number 9. Origin of matter and stars prove evolution is wrong. This has nothing to do with evolution. Evolutionists just throw up their hands at the question of the origin of matter. No, but it has nothing to do with evolution. So it's, this is cosmology, not evolution. They stick their head in the sand and ignore the problem. Yes, of course, evolutionary biologists ignore the problem. It's not their problem. The fact that matter exists in outrageously large quantities, it doesn't, simply proves evolution is wrong. How? The Big Bang Theory doesn't solve the problem either. It has nothing to do with it. It doesn't matter where the universe came from as far as evolution is concerned. As far as evolution is concerned, God created it 6,000 years ago, but evolution has still been going on since then. And if that's what happened, then God would have intentionally made the Earth look older with, he fast-forwarded everything so that we could see this, that evolution has been going on for longer than the Earth has existed. It's like okay, let's create the world with this billions of years long history, but this is where we start the game, as it were. There's a backstory that while it wouldn't have happened within the setting of the game, as it were, it has happened, but it's not part of the game. You understand what I'm saying? No, probably not, because you're stupid. Matter and energy have to come from somewhere. You are absolutely correct, I think. It depends on exactly what you mean by that. There's the whole idea that, you know, there's actually zero energy in total in the universe, so it's not a problem, really. But it's definitely not a problem for evolution, because evolution is about how life changes over time. It has nothing to do with where matter came from. Wow, this is absolutely retarded. But now, there is a disclaimer. The above is an excerpt of a larger article. Holy shit, I do not want to read that one. Promoting creationism, but without bringing any kind of evidence to support it. Wow. The author brings solid scientific argument to disprove the theory of evolution as it is today, but disproving it does not implicitly prove the biblical creation story is correct. Well, that's correct, but well, it's part correct. He doesn't provide any solid scientific arguments against evolution. But even if he did, that wouldn't prove creationism. In fact, there are at least just as many arguments to disprove many of the biblical stories. Wow, amazing. This is going to get funny, though. Personally, I'm sure that somewhere in the near future the existence of intelligent life out there will be disclosed to the public. Oh, here we go. The author is also stating that there's no evidence whatsoever to support extraterrestrial life, blah blah blah. So now we're turning this into the government is keeping aliens hidden in Area 51, right? Also, there's plenty of interesting cases of human-alien contact that should have been openly investigated by the mainstream scientific communities, which did not happen. So, in other words, you didn't get this from scientific sources, you got this from conspiracy theorists. For example, the case of Giovanna, an Italian woman who was allegedly kidnapped by the so-called Greys multiple times since she was a child. Her claims were supported by the testimonies of her family's medical accounts, pictures, blah 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 blah, and even an aborted human-alien hybrid fetus. Because that's possible, right? All those who involuntarily became involved in her case, including medical doctors, vowed for the veracity of her claims, yet no official investigation was held. Then how did they how did they vow for the veracity of her claims? I mean, if there was no investigation, then they wouldn't know anything about it. Idiot. How can we claim to be searching for intelligent life out there, yet at the same time ignore a huge case in here? What does this have to do with any of this? And this is not a lone case. In fact, anonymous polls, anonymous for obvious reasons, suggest that there might be hundreds of thousands of alien abductees worldwide. What does this have to do with anything? Why isn't there an open official investigation taking place? There is nothing to investigate. Based on evidence, it is possible that all the world's religions have been founded as a result of misunderstood alien contact. Well, that's certainly possible, but where's the evidence? Based on evidence. What evidence? You haven't provided any. You have provided claims. Now, some of the evidence can be easily ignored or dismissed by science. For example, crop circles are considered hoaxes. Yes, they are. there is still plenty of evidence that there is more to the story than we are being told, and I'm sure you're going to mention it right below here. No, well, too bad. I would have liked to hear it. Lastly, the hypothesis that vastly more intelligent life forms are seeding planets with life and gradually improving their creation is a very logical assumption to make, in my opinion. No, it is not. It is an assumption. It is neither logical nor illogical. It is just... there's nothing self-contradictory about it, but where's the evidence? And why would you make the assumption? How does it help explain anything? If you think about it, even our very young species is planning to make Mars habitable in the near future. Really? How? Well, we can build like domes, or build bases on Mars that have habitable climates inside them, but there are no plans to do anything else, and I don't even know how that would be done in a plausible manner. Before concluding this article, I want to thank Mr. Kent R. Reesky for his outstanding work and all the scientific data gathered to disprove the theory of evolution as it is today. You haven't provided any data to disprove evolution, which was imagined and promoted by the high-ranking Freemasons as a disinformation weapon and control tool. As long as we are not allowed to know our own true history, the secret societies are in control. As long as the theory of evolution stands, we are nothing else than slightly more evolved working apes. By Alexander Light, humansarefree.com. I am gonna have fun checking out that website. See ya.